Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be looking at the PC Engine. Such an underrated machine. PC Engine. Oh, look at that. It looks cute, it looks dinky. I wanted to talk about this one because I think it's such an underrated game. Console. It goes under the radar. It is a beautiful, beautiful machine. Absolutely beautiful. Now it is, it's a nice little console. It's probably one of the smallest consoles we've ever seen. Now let's have a look at the downside. Okay, it is quite expensive still. Probably looking over 100 quid to get one. They did several versions. The PC Engine Core Graphics, PC Engine Core Graphics 2. They also released it. They did only released it in Japan and America. I think they did release a few the version in Europe for a while, but we didn't really have that many in stock over in Europe, and it's like it's really hard to get hold of. Now, standard power supply, you do have the first versions came out with RF units. Then shortly after that, the core graphics and the core graphics 2, and those after that, you've got the 5-pin DIN port with your composite connection on the side, which is red, white, and yellow. Now, that's kind of like, I would say it's a downside. Another downside, it is only got one controller port, which is quite annoying. But look beyond that. Now, this machine it came out at the same time, well, not the same time, but to compete with the Master System and the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, I like to call it. And it is an 8-bit machine. It's definitely an 8-bit machine with you could say with a 16-bit graphics processor, because it was pulling off some amazing games. Now, the reason I want to talk about this as well, they've just released the PC Engine Mini Core Graphics, and about a year and a half ago, and they've got it's come out. You get about 40 games with it, and some absolutely quality ones. And the actual machine itself is pretty much the same size as the original. And I've got one of those. I've got the PC Engine as well. I think they're both brilliant machines. I like to have the original because I like that. I wouldn't say I'm a collector, but I just like that. But some of the games I would recommend. So the first one now, I choose these. These aren't the definitive games. These aren't the best games. These aren't like the world's greatest or the first 5 you should get. I chose these 5 because they're still cheap. You can get them quite easily, and they are quite entertaining and quite good sort of games that's going to give you a lot to go with. So my first one, Dungeon Explorer. Dungeon Explorer is your gauntlet style game with a bit more RPG element in there. There's like about 8 characters to choose from, like a wizard, a thug, a barbarian, an elf, a bard, a warrior, and they've added to this one, very similar to Gauntlet. It's got like straight away you've got an adventure kind of game. You're walking around, you've got so many characters to destroy on, and each one is coming out of some kind of what could we call it, like vortex or pod, where they just keep regenerating until you destroy that generator. Each character you choose has got different stats, and like I say, you can if you've got yourself a 4-player adapter, you can have up to 5 players. Yes, 5 players at the same time, which is fantastic. But anyway, I played some because I've got no friends. And Dungeon Explorer is an absolutely quality game. I don't generally play the warrior because he's got the best at like firepower. But anyway, so dungeon crawler, straightforward. You'll find yourself in a dungeon, solving puzzles, destroying the monsters, and towards the end of each puzzle, you will find yourself like a big boss. Kill the boss, and it gives you a gem or a jewel. Call it what you want. It's turning certain colours. Depending on which colour you get, will take up that kind of stat. So I think it's red for attack, blue for defence, green for initiative, something like that. Fantastic game. You pick up icons at the same time that will help boost your power up. Absolutely legendary game, absolutely quality game. Highly recommend it if you've not played it. I did not know about this game. I knew about the console. I only saw screenshots of this game until I found a cheap version of it and brought it, and I was like, I absolutely love this game. I can't believe it's gotten this far under the radar with me. My second one I'm going to choose is a nice, lovely top shooter. Vertical shooter is Dragon Spirit. Now, Dragon Spirit, I remember actually playing this version in the arcade. A guy had it built into a machine, and he just bought a load of PC Engine games for it, and he just swapped over each card, the Hue card, for another game. And it was actually this version. I saw it. I didn't know anything. I didn't realise what it was until afterwards. Talking years later, but I realised, oh, that's the actual version I played, and it was a PC Engine version. I didn't even know the difference between that and the arcade. But Dragon Spirit is a quality vertical shooter, and it's quite hard, quite difficult, but it's one of those that will keep coming back for more and more and more. If you compare it next to the arcade, it looks very close indeed, and it's very challenging. Great sound, great special effects. Still very cheap. I think it's about £15. Highly recommend getting it. My next one I'm going to have to go with is Pacland. Pacland. Oh, I used to play this in the arcade a lot. This is probably the closest version I've ever seen of Pacland on any system. And it does a fantastic job as well. The music's very close indeed. The sprites, the graphics, the colour. There is differences. If you put them side by side, you'll see differences, but it is still a quality game, and it gives you that whole effect. And when you played it, you'll feel like you are playing the arcade game. I absolutely adore this game, and like I say, it's only £15, really still quite cheap, really easy to get hold of, and highly recommend it. Pacman gives a lot of challenge, and it's one of those that will keep you coming back for more and more. By the time you've finished it, you want to see how quick you can finish it. Once you've finished it once, you'll be like, right, see how far I can get on one credit, and you'll practice that. It's not that kind of game. Highly recommend it. My next one I'm going to have to go with is Adventure Island. What's Adventure Island? What's Adventure Island? But it's Wonder Boy 3, the Dragon Strap. They've just released it for the PC Engine, and they've just called it Adventure Island instead. That's the Japanese version. I think the American version is called Dragon's Curse. But I highly recommend that as well. So Adventure Island, it literally takes Wonder Boy 3 the Dragon's Trap and soups up the graphics. Better sound, better graphics. If Wonder Boy 3 the Dragon's Trap on the Master System was 16-bit look, that's what it would look like. And once again, it's your Metroidvania. I spoke about Wonder Boy 3 the Dragon's Trap earlier on. It's for me, it feels like a Metroidvania. You've got your main hub, and each area opens up each time. You can turn into different monsters. You start off as a Wonder Boy, or Shion. Then you turn into the dragon, then later on you kill the boss and you turn into Mouse. You get the gist of it, but I highly recommend it. It's still quite cheap. I think this one's a little bit more expensive, but definitely worth getting. My next one is Bikuriman World. Yes, you heard right, not Biscuit Man World, Bikuriman World. You're not thinking, what's Bikuriman? What's Biscuit Man? No, Bikuriman World is Wonder Boy in Monster Land, not Monster World. Wonder Boy in Monster Land, just for the PC Engine version. And this one I find very close. I spoke about this one, so I won't waffle on too much. I spoke about this one on one of my episodes with Wonder Boy. Still quite cheap. I think it's about 25-30. If you look around, you can get a cheap version. But it's one of those games that will keep you coming back for more and more and more. Still highly recommend it, and definitely worth having in your collection. And the last one is going to have to be R-Type. Oh, come on. Okay, downside to this, I'll get it out of the way, it's only the first 4 levels. They couldn't fit the whole game on one cartridge. Damn. But it is the first 4 levels, and boy, what a version it is. This is almost near arcade perfect. Sometimes I would have to say it's better than the arcade, because it scrolls up and down just a little bit, just so we can fit the whole game in there. But you put them side by side, it's almost near arcade perfect. That's how close it is, and I would highly recommend it. Cheap, pretty cheap, £20, 25. Definitely recommend it. Definitely one for your collection. It's just brilliant. Once you've got the first 4 levels, later on you can buy R-Type 2, which is the next 4 levels. It's not R-Type 2 that we know of, which is like Super R-Type or R-Type 2 in the arcade. It's R-Type Part 2, pretty much. The last 4 levels, level 5, 6, 7 and 8. So anyway, guys, that is the PC Engine. A very, very, very underrated console. Probably a lot of collectors out there have got one, and for me, I don't know where I was, where I would be if I didn't have one. I'm so glad I've got one. It's such an underrated console, amazing console indeed. Like I say, Apparently it's like 400, it can have up to 486 or 481 colours on the screen at once from a palette of like 546 or 564. That's like, wow. Back then, that was absolutely amazing. Downside, obviously, is just one joypad, which is annoying. But the pads are pretty sturdy, and you know, and if you've got the core graphics, you do later on get the turbo buttons, which really helps. So, guys, that is the PC Engine core graphics. I've gone with that one. Core graphics, that's my favourite. I think I like that. It's quite dinky, quite small. So, guys, once again, thanks for watching. Leave us a comment, leave us a like down below. Really do appreciate it. So, guys, once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.